Welcome to the Making Things Simpler, where we uncover the fascinating stories hidden behind everyday names and objects. When you hear the word Jeep, what comes to mind? Maybe a rugged off-road vehicle climbing rocky hills. Maybe a military machine bouncing across rough terrain. The name is short, sharp, and powerful. But have you ever stopped to wonder, why is it called a Jeep? It turns out the answer isn't as simple as you might think. To understand the name, we need to go back to the late 1930s. The world was moving toward war, and the United States Army realized it needed a new kind of vehicle. Something lightweight, tough, and capable of handling mud, sand, snow, and rocky ground. It had to carry soldiers, supplies, and equipment while being small enough to move quickly and efficiently. In 1940, the Army sent out strict requirements to automobile manufacturers. The vehicle had to be four-wheel drive, carry a specific payload, and meet tight weight limits. Only a handful of companies stepped up to the challenge. Among them were American Bantam, Willys Overland, and Ford. After a series of prototypes and refinements, the design that would become legendary emerged, the Willys MB. It was compact, powerful, and nearly unstoppable on rough terrain. Soldiers quickly fell in love with its versatility. But officially, it didn't have a catchy name. The Army referred to it using technical classifications like P-ton 4x4 reconnaissance truck. Practical? Yes. Memorable? Not at all. As often happens in the military, soldiers began creating their own nickname, and that's where the mystery begins. One popular theory suggests that the name came from the letters GP. Some believe the G stood for government, and the P stood for general purpose. When spoken quickly, GP could sound like Jeep. It has a simple explanation, but historians point out that the story isn't too quite accurate. In Ford's internal coding system, the letter P didn't actually stand for purpose. It referred to a specific design category. So while GP may have influenced the pronunciation, it likely wasn't the full origin of the name. Another theory is even more interesting. Before the famous vehicle ever existed, the word Jeep was already being used in US Army slang during the 1930s. Soldiers used it to describe new, untested equipment, or even new recruits who hadn't yet proven themselves. In other words, a Jeep was something experimental or unfamiliar. When this small, strange-looking four-wheel drive vehicle arrived, it was exactly that, new and untested. Calling it a Jeep might have simply been a natural extension of existing slang. Then there's the pop culture connection. In 1936, the Popeye comic strip introduced a character named Eugene the Jeep. Eugene was a small, magical creature who could go anywhere and solve impossible problems. He could walk through walls and appear wherever he was needed. To soldiers familiar with the comic, the comparison made sense. The new military vehicle seemed almost magical in its ability to travel across impossible terrain. Like Eugene, it could go anywhere. It's very possible that all these influences blended together. Slang, abbreviations, and pop culture references combined into one simple word that stuck. By 1941, journalists were already using the term Jeep in newspapers to describe the vehicle. The nickname spread quickly. Soldiers embraced it. Officers used it. And soon, it became the vehicle's unofficial and then official name. During World War II, the Jeep became one of the most important tools of the Allied forces. It carried troops through deserts in North Africa, jungles in the Pacific, and muddy fields in Europe. It transported generals, delivered supplies, and even served as ambulances. General Dwight D. Eisenhower later listed the Jeep as one of the key vehicles that helped win the war. After the war ended, the story didn't stop. Willys Overland saw the popularity and potential of the vehicle. They trademarked the name Jeep and introduced civilian versions known as the CJ, short for civilian Jeep. Farmers, ranchers, and adventurers quickly adopted it. The military workhorse transformed into a symbol of freedom and exploration. Over time, Jeep evolved into a global automotive brand. The design changed, the technology improved, but the spirit remained the same: rugged capability and go-anywhere confidence. What makes the name so powerful is that it wasn't created in a marketing office. It wasn't carefully engineered by branding experts. It grew naturally from the people who used the vehicle daily. It came from soldiers, mechanics, journalists, and even comic readers. The name Jeep represents adaptability, resilience, and practicality. It began as slang, survived wartime, and became legendary. So why is it called a Jeep? The honest answer is that it's likely a combination of influences. military abbreviations, soldier slang, and a touch of comic book magic. No single explanation tells the whole story. And maybe that's what makes it even more fascinating. Sometimes the most iconic names aren't invented, they evolve. From muddy battlefields to mountain trails, the word Jeep continues to stand for strength and adventure. A simple name with a surprisingly complex history. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the Making Things Simpler. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay curious because even the toughest machines often have the most unexpected origins.